Right off the bat. Ah!
There you go. Wow. A little bit of an E-blues there just to kind of get us started off with. What I wanted to talk about this month, we've had Will on. I was looking back through the archives. It's been 3 years since you've been on the show, which has been, sounds way too long, but you were here for our conference, which was, 4 or 5 months ago. And but before that, I think it was 2012.
That's incredible.
By the time
time flies when you're having fun.
I tell you. But what I wanted to talk about, we did a thing together, a wonderful event, benefit thing, a month or so ago, and with your group, the Blues Council, and I got to play along for a tune or two, and it was a lot of fun. But a conversation that a statement that you mentioned about people being able to. The new players these days aren't familiar with the old styles and be able to play in old styles. And I remember you said something, you said to me, gosh, you couldn't get a guy to play a B.B. King lick or something like that. Something like that. It'd be tough to get a new player to know the difference, really, between these different players, these older players.
Well, when I was first listening to the guitar, you could tell in one note who it was. Mm-hmm. And that's an amazing thing to say, but, B.B. King would, he'd just go... And you just go, well, that was B.B. King, or whatever, but you could also tell in one note if it was Muddy Waters, that scream and slide, or whether it was Buddy Guy. It was very Hendrixy actually before Hendrix,
Yeah.
I saw Buddy Guy in '69 open for Zeppelin. Crazy, but also the other Clapton, Jeff Beck, Jimmy Page, Mark Knopfler. When you'd hear one note from these guys, what a signature! And I think that part of the beauty of playing is to find out who you are. I'm convinced if you and I only had one record between us and we were locked in separate rooms and that was our only influence, somehow or another we'd come out and we could tell that we'd heard this, we went to different schools together, but your touch would be different than mine, and it would, you might have caught, if all you had was a Hendrix first record, you might have come out of there playing Purple Haze and just really screaming, and I might have come out of there playing Wind Cries Mary and doing all those Bobby Womack licks, you know what I mean? And so that's part of the beauty of finding out what your signature is when you have a guitar to just enjoy the guitar, and listen to your fingers and not get fast until you like the tone or until you like your sound. Muscle memory will lead to speed, but if you just go for speed, you'll sort of lose that.
Yeah.
And so I really encourage folks to just, listen to themselves play and just find out what your signature is.
And you've had such an amazing career. You've had the opportunity through Bonnie Raitt. You were in Bonnie's band for 8 years?
Well, no, it was a little under 6, but still, one of the great things, of course, hearing Bonnie has a signature too. As soon as this slide comes in, you go, well, that's Bonnie Raitt, But we did shows, with Little Feat and B.B. King and Muddy Waters and Buddy Guy, and
so you've met these players. You've been in the backstage with these players, been on stage with these players.
Yeah, very fortunately asked to come out and sit in with them at times and do the encores, or they'd come out and sit in with us, or with Jackson Browne, with David Lindley to stand next to him, and those kind of tones you hear in your head, and you realize, I'd rather go for great tone than just a bunch of technique without tone.
What is it about the approach of some of these different players that would be kind of their defining style? Like if I said, okay, Will, for this one we want you to sound more B.B. King.
Yeah,
Okay, what would you do? What would be going through your mind?
My first thing was he tends to have a sound. He plays a guitar very similar to this, is a 335. He plays a 355, and it has that veritone thing. But it always sounds like it's both pickups at once.
Yeah.
He never sounds like, or like,
Yeah.
It's in the middle. It's that, And he has a vibrato that I don't have, that Hendrix had. He has, that kind of wrist vibrato. My vibrato is a lot more like Clapton's, where it's, it's that grip. Of course, he was overdriving it a lot more, but BB's tone would probably be in this, you hear the spank of the guitar or the twin pickups. His tone now, but he wouldn't have probably gotten, He's got he had a lot under the hood,
Mm-hmm.
But I would think of that more the spank, the double pickup, the 2 humbucker.
Now, if I said to
tone.
you, okay, for this one, we wanted to sound a little bit more Buddy Guy.
Yeah, Buddy overdrove his guitar a lot more. It's interesting, been thinking a lot about Buddy lately because the guy in the Foo Fighters, Dave Grohl, is doing this thing called Sonic Highways on HBO, and my texting just sort of blew up one night because they had some footage of me with Buddy Guy when I was 22 years old.
Really?
And Buddy was the first guy I ever heard. He would maybe, he'd overdrive it and he'd go, much more aggressive. As a matter of fact, it's a funny story. First album I ever did for Bobby Bland, I was tuning up my old Strat because we were going to cut tracks, and I like to cut tracks with single coils because they're just tighter, they spank more, just Strats and Tellys. And I was tuning my old Strat up, and he had a guitar player in his band who played a guy named Wayne Bennett, who's an icon, a blues icon, who played a 350, more of a big body, but an F-hold, Gibson Spanish style. ES meant electric Spanish, if you've ever wondered what ES meant.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, an ES 335, the ES meant electric Spanish. So it was, an F-hold guitar. And so he came walking in the studio, and this is Roger Hawkins, and this is David Hood, and it was Clayton Ivey that day. And he said, "This is your guitar player, Will McFarlane." And he just, first thing, he doesn't say, "Hey, nice to meet you." He just went, "That's a rock guitar." And I went, "Well, Buddy Guy plays one." He went, "That's what I mean." And I went, "Whoa," so I got my 335 out and cut tracks, all day with the. And sometimes you miss the spank. These things are so sweet and warm, and that's what he wanted. And the first actual solo, we did this song that it started off on the 5th and went, and I went, something like, and he went, "Take your time, son." And I went, "Whoa." So we were just running it down. So when it went, I went, he went, all right, just one note. But I was starting like a, and he was like, "Take your time," whoa. So you learn from those guys, but and one night when I was standing next to Buddy with Bonnie, Buddy walked out on stage and we kicked into a song, and I went, just kicked right into a blues thing, and Bonnie wasn't looking back, and she goes, "Buddy Guy," and he looks over at me and goes, "Shh." So I started trying to imitate him, doing Buddy Guy licks, next to him, and she's going, "Buddy Guy," Oh, it was just a cool night. It just happened a couple of times, but Dave Grohl just got this footage, as I said, this brief little footage of me playing next to Buddy, and that night Buddy was playing a Guild Starfire, and he was just driving it hard, and so he was very Hendrixy. I don't know, and his guitar would feed back, and it was awesome. But so Buddy was just still very bluesy,
Yeah.
and he's been a real Strat player for years. He was a Strat player before that as well, but he's been a real Strat player for years. You usually see him with a polka dotted Strat now. So it would be hard to sound like modern Buddy on this guitar, but it's very Strat-like. He likes the front pickup on the Strat, middle pickup where the meat, is there.
I've got so many questions here. What about if we wanted to sound kind of a Memphis sound, kind of a Steve Cropper sort of?
Well, Steve's obviously a telly player, and he told me he never actually played the back pickup. He never even clicked. He told me that one time. I said, "Are you kidding?" Because there's a couple of things that sound like that where he goes. That lick right there, I always thought was back pickup, but he said no. He just all that. But the thing about Memphis playing, it's very basic. and it's very, like, the rhythm playing is great. It's just, like you hear, like, on maybe something like that, I don't want to lose. Have a little delay on here, so. Just real stinging it,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. A lot of that. But then again, you hear that they'll use that. They use the fourths a lot, which I talk about. If I'm in the key of A, a fourth is actually the fifth of the scale. Like in the key of A, it would be an E, but it's the fourth down. The fifth up is the same as the fourth down, mathematically, if you look at it. So if I go up 5, that's 5. But if I go 4 down, I hit an E. If I go 5 up, I hit an E. So they'll call it fourths. And like if you hit an A chord, play a little soul thing, and I go, you've heard that a million times. You hear that kind of stuff. You hear a lot of that in Memphis playing, and also sixths, which is skipping a string. You hear that, what I just did for Soul Man, or in A, you would, just take those 2 notes. You can see it's still the shape of an A chord. You just leave those strings out, play the G and the E string, and go. If you listen to something like Dock of the Bay, where it's going like, sitting in the mornings, I'll be sitting. That's very Memphis, very, very simple chordal work, but it's beautiful. It orchestrates just beautifully, and you listen to Soul Man and Dock of the Bay and Midnight Hour, where one guitar just, and the other guitar's going. I mean, right there, the dance floor is full. Like as soon as you do that, the dance floor is full. And yet you can say, well, that's so simple, but it's right. And you try it.
Yeah.
You go put a band together and try to sound like Booker T and the MGs, and you'll realize immediately how hard it is to play simply and articulately like that. It's a real lesson to all of us,
Have a couple of questions. PM Racing is asking, tell us about the guitars that we are playing. Well, this is a Gibson Les Paul that I grabbed literally off the wall because I grabbed the wrong guitar when I was coming here this afternoon. I was playing my Strat the other day, and so it was in the case. So I just grabbed this one off the wall. This is a 2006 Gibson Les Paul Custom Shop. I thought it was pretty because it just has a darker around the sides, which you don't usually see, and gets a lot of great sounds, and it's not too heavy. Usually, sometimes the Les Pauls are like boat anchors.
We just recently played for the state of Alabama. Spooner Oldham's wife is a chiropractor, and so the statewide convention, she got Spooner put a band together that I was in, and we played for the chiropractors. And they actually said they have a thing that chiropractors refer to as rock star scoliosis. And it's where the bottom of the spine below the rib cage gets curved from people standing with their guitars for years and years and years, but 90% of the people that have it are Les Paul players.
Yeah.
Because it's so heavy and they're hanging them off.
Now, what are you playing on today?
This is a 335. It's a custom shop edition. It's an 80s dot neck reissue, and it's just a great guitar. It just is. I don't bring it out nearly enough. I can see it's all dusty. I've been blowing the dust off of it, and it's very toneful. And I'm playing, huh?
Take us through a couple of the different sounds that the pickups are getting.
Well, the front pickup is that warm, you can hear how, very jazzy, you know. The middle pickup, as I said, combines the two, so it adds the bridge pickup, which has a little more bite. Here's the bridge pickup by itself. Here's a front pick. So when you put them together, you get sort of just a little bit of, and a lot of times when you see people playing Gibsons, they're always going like this. They're always adjusting this and rolling a little tone off on that one, or maybe adding it back, and because you get a rhythm tone you like in the middle, and if you turn this one up, it gets fatter. See what I mean?
Yeah.
And then if I turn it down, it gets. So you have to. You're always sort of looking for your tone, you know, in the middle.
Now,
But
what amp are you playing through today?
I'm playing through my trusty old 69 Princeton Reverb that was restored by Superfine in Durham, North Carolina. And it's just one of the great amps I've ever owned. And I own a lot of really nice amps. Not a lot now.
Is it a 12? Or?
It's got a 10-inch speaker in it.
Wow.
I've got it on 2.5. And I have my guitar on half. And I mean, you can play clubs with this little amp. And, you know, it's just a great amp. It's got a 10-inch speaker in it. It's a 12-watt amp on 2.5. I don't know what I was doing in the 70s playing 100-watt amps. What was I thinking? You know, I felt that I had to move that much air. Now I've got this little guy, and it's just... You can just tell it's just a great, you know...
Beautiful.
Yeah, I like this guitar. And it's
know-
got cool things, too. It's got bird's eyes and all sorts of marbling in it, flame.
Had another question. Dino58 is asking, Will, did you ever listen to Lonnie Mack?
Very little, but of course he did some of those great instrumentals back in the day, you know, and it was just always so. I was the rhythm guitar player in all my early bands. I played the guitar for 6 or 7 years before I ever took a solo because I just wasn't one of those confident guys. I was the singer-songwriter up in the front, you know, and always had lead guitar players in my band. And Lonnie Mack and all those, Dwayne Eddy, you know, I love that stuff now. You know, I mean, except you do that on a Gretsch with a Bigsby, so you can go bow, 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 you know. But, yeah, man, I love those early instrumentals, you know, I really do. Now that I've gone back and listened to them, I love to get a little dirt on my amp. But back in the day, I don't think I had the brass to really step out and do any of that stuff. It's too bad. I lost years.
Now you're with the Shoals Rhythm Section, and they had that documentary that came out a couple years back.
I'm very thankful for that documentary. It doesn't tell the whole story, but it's it's a cool take. It tells part of it, and I was living in North Carolina while they were filming it, and it's my friends, you know. It's the people I love. The original Shoals Rhythm Section.
Who was all in that?
The original rhythm section was Barry Beckett, who's passed, and Jimmy Johnson, who I still work with. I just played Lincoln Center with him and David Hood and Spooner this summer. We did a Shoals soul review up at Lincoln Center that they streamed, and that was great fun playing New York. And David Hood is the bass player. So when you hear Mavis Staple go, Little David, and you hear doo 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 on I'll Take You There. That's David Hood, and he's a rock star right now. He's in his 70s, and he did a record for the Waterboys that's like a Celtic folk rock band kind of a guys. They're real creative, and he did a record for him, and they just asked him to go on the road, and he did it. He's played the Sydney Opera House this year, although he just played Glastonbury. He left in September, and he won't get back till the middle of December. He's touring Europe right now, the bass player, and he's been a studio player for most of it. And so anyway, that's just great. And they were the original four, and they had other guitar players. You know, Dwayne Allman played with them, Eddie Hinton. I mean, Eddie's one of the most soulful guys I've ever met. And then Pete Carr did like the twin stuff that you hear. He did a lot Kodachrome and Down on Main Street. I don't have any, drive on it, Whatever. But yeah, Pete did that, and then I got there in '80, and just they started inviting me in and along, so I played with them for 20
still
years.
busy with.
And you know what happens? People see that documentary and they say, "I got to cut something in Muscle Shoals," and they, they come down to Fame, and Fame calls me, or the Nut House there,
Yeah.
two of the studios, and now Billy Lawson has a studio there, and they'll call me up and ask me to chart the tunes, and we go in, and they want to sound like Percy or Clarence Carter or Aretha,
Yeah.
and we're still working all the time down there, which is great, great, great for us, and we're thrilled, and they want the old guys too, in a young man's business, they want the old guys who did it, and so it's great. I work with Spooner and David Hood.
And a
Clayton
couple of years
Ivey.
ago, you were saying that you had worked with Joss Stone.
I came up to Nashville, actually. They were going to go. They've restored Fame now, but at the time, they were, you sort of banged on the pots, And it's in great shape right now, but they cut it Blackbird here, and I did a Joss Stone record. And that was with, I can't believe it, Ernie Isley. Ernie Isley and I played guitar. It's interesting, the melodic musicians on the Joss Stone record called Soul Sessions, the melodic musicians were all over 60, and the rhythm section was all under 30. And it was a great combination, to hear the young guys just dropping into a groove and us,
All right, where are we at? Oh gosh, it's already 7:30. Okay, well we'll give you a rest here for a second, and we will give away some stuff. The good folks over at Diodario Strings, you had hooked me up with David Villa, the vice president over there,
Yes.
and I emailed him today, and he emailed me back and got me in touch with their Nashville representative. And so he has offered a few boxes of set of some strings. So I don't have them yet, but we will going to give away a box of strings. And you've been using Diodarios lately too.
I've liked Diodarios for years, and I've used them for years. But the new strings they have out, the NYXLs,
NYXL.
they're just killing me. They're great. Your guitar. The first time I put them on my Telecaster, I thought my compressor's been, it's turned up louder, or my amp's louder, or something. They seem to just jump out of the guitar. And when I was on Delbert's cruise last year, Bob Britt, who's a great guitar player, came up to me and said, "What strings are you using these days?" And I said, "Man, I just switched to those NY." He said, "If you hadn't, I was going to." He goes, "Because I used to have to bring two guitars, ocean air, you get out there and they just rot the strings and, that kind of stuff." He goes, "I just bring one guitar. I don't even worry about changing them." They're just, I don't know what they did. Maybe it's a bigger, it's some kind of new technology. Strings are strings are strings, you think, until you play something that you go, "Gosh, I love the tension in this." And, and it just makes your guitar feel like it has more structural integrity. And so I'm a big fan of the Diodario NYXLs right now.
Somebody's going to win a box of strings. Hopefully it's those. And the winner of that is Go Bob Guitar. Go Bob Guitar, you have just won a box of strings from Diodario. If you can, go ahead and type in your mailing address, shipping information, phone number if you have it, screen name, and send that to service@mightyoakmusic.com, and we can get that out to you. We can get your things out to you. If you don't claim them, though, we'll give them away. We'll give them away next week. So congratulations, Go Bob. Great. I love giving away fun stuff.
That's great.
Love giving away good resources too. We've been talking about blues this month, and I wanted to tell you about a couple of the resources that we have put together. One of them is we have a few copies. We did this series, 100 Blues Lessons, comes with 2 CDs, and it also comes with a DVD, 200 blues licks. This comes with on-screen tab, and then this is written out in various styles. Gives you a little bit of playing information about how to approach these various licks. So this is more of just kind of a short bits of information, but it's great. You can grab all kinds of good stuff out of this. I put this. We've got a few copies of this left over. If you're interested in these, we got a great deal on them. It's the black and white sort of button. I think it's the rightmost button underneath your Ustream window. And then the leftmost button is this huge book, the Guitar Tab White Pages. Played out a little bit of this last time, which is just 100 great songs, all kinds of eras, and it comes with the play-along tracks with it. What did we do? There's everything from Freddie King, The Stumble, Sultans of Swing, Dire Straits, Sweet Home Chicago, Wes Montgomery, Merle Haggard, The Animals, The Yardbirds, Godsmack, Johnny Cash, I Walk the Line, Tom Petty, it kind of Sheryl Crow, and Bon Jovi. Those goes right down the line, and Alanis Morissette. So a lot of great songs in this. If you're interested, check this out. The songs and all that stuff are on there. And then for this month, we just put together, since we're talking about styles and sort of the blues players, these legendary players, I was able to find some great resources for this. Here's one for learning this style. This is a B.B. King play-along DVD. Teaches 8 of his songs. Thrill Is Gone is on there. Sweet Little Angel. Rock Me Baby. It's got on-screen tab. You have a lesson, so a guide tells you about the licks that are involved. There's a play-along track with it, and you got on-screen tab. So it's great. So if you're interested in learning B.B. King style, which we've talked about, that is a resource. And then we talked about Buddy Guy, and this was the best resource that I found for this. This 16 of Buddy's songs, the best of Buddy Guy, comes with a CD as well. It's written out in music notation and tab as well. And this is more intermediate, advanced material. Sorry, it's Buddy Guy. This is note-for-note transcription, so you're not going to get things if you're just starting your guitar journey. This may be a little much for you. But if you're around the intermediate range, this may be something to grab. And then the third thing, part of all those resources, if you're like me, you're always looking for stuff to play with. You always have trouble finding guys to play with. Not you. You play all the time. But mere mortals, we're looking for, always looking for people to play with, because you can't do what we do by ourselves.
Not always.
You gotta have other musicians and other instruments playing with you. This is a great resource. There's, I think, 8 songs on here, and it's all slow blues classics. Catfish Blues by Jimi Hendrix, Dirty Pool, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Don't Throw Your Love on Me So Strong, Albert King, Eric Clapton, Freddie King, T-Bone Walker, all kinds of great stuff. If you're interested, we've got all 3 of these resources for $50. We were able to do that. So if you're interested, check them out. That's the center button, and that helps us keep the lights on here for all the stuff that we're doing. So that's enough of me yapping. Let's...
It's a good point right there, that first point there.
Sure. Run 27.2 is asking, can you go over common keys and soloing, pentatonic, modes, whatever, that are used most in blues playing, blues music?
Jam bands are more likely to use the modes, but the blues guys, I mean, a lot of, I won't even go there yet. The number one scale that is just probably the foundation of blues soloing is the blues scale, which is a pentatonic scale with a flat 5 in it. So instead of going, that doesn't swing, but if I go, all of a sudden I'm swinging. You can just tell. And it's see how it swings? there's the flat 5 instead of, and that's the primary scale you'll use in the blues. And if it's a major blues, you know, really, there's a dominant third in it. You can go, you don't, if you went, the definition of a blue note is it's not major or minor.
Right.
It's not committing to the note. A blue note, there's a flat third, there's a regular third. So if I go, you know, it's in between, and that's where the blues is, to go. I didn't quite get it all the way to the major third, but I was sharper than the minor third, and that's the blue note in it. And a lot of people do the flat 5 inadvertently without thinking. They go. And so, but if it's very major, sometimes you go. See what I mean? And that means that I'm adding a major scale to it. The blues scale, a Mixolydian scale, which would be modal, is really, it's a D scale starting at the 5th position. You're starting at an A. So if I went, so it's a major scale, but it's got the 7th, the same dominant 7. A major would go. But if I go, then I have this in common. Both of those scales have the tonic. They both have a 7. The Mixolydian scale has the 6. And a lot of times you go. But so I have a 1, I have the 7 flat, I have the 6, the 5, the flat 5 from the blues scale, the 4 from both of them, the 3 from Mixolydian, the flat 3 from the blues scale, the 2 from Mixolydian, and 1. So look how much permission you have. A lot of people are afraid to start soloing because they're afraid they'll hit a wrong note. I could hit, like if you just started, I just hit them all. Which one was wrong? You know what I'm saying? So, see what I'm saying? Very, yeah. See, now I mix those two scales. See what I mean? Here's the flat 5. You get in the Allman Brothers, where the that's very Dorian. I don't want to get into the modes right now. Just stick with those two. I'm going to stick with those two scales. The blue and the mix. Those two, add them together, and just, if you mix them up, you'll find, for example, go ahead and play me a 12-bar blues, and I'll show you what I might do. Just something like that. See, I'm playing a blues scale here. Now when I go to the 4, I'll go major. See? Now I'm going to go minor. Now when I go to the 5, I'll go major again. See how I mix that? I would be like minor on the 1, but then when it went to the 4, I played the change. Oh, because look, if I show you, here's a D chord, okay? It's got the 6 in it, see? So the 7 chord for the A, if I go, then when we go to the D, see what I mean? I'm playing the changes. I'm not thinking, oh, I'm just going to stay in a scale here and all the scale notes work. That's okay, but it's not as interesting.
Yeah.
It's knowing that when I go to the 4, all of a sudden I have this whole other thing. You know what I mean? I have all these D's everywhere, and instead of just thinking I'm in A pentatonic. Now you can. Now I'll show you again. If I go, see? See, I'm staying pentatonic. It's not necessarily, phrasing then is what will make that interesting. But it's also just as interesting to go to, you know, then when it goes to the 4, now I'm on the 3rd. See what I mean? Then when it goes to the 5. So you can get creative with the blues. You don't have to be, just stuck, as I said, in. So that's some of the stuff. Colin Hill just asked if I could take you through some of the things I'm thinking. Most of the time when I'm thinking, I'm not playing as well. Like just then, I was thinking. But when I'm just playing, the permission that I've given myself comes between those two scales and comes in playing the changes.
Yeah.
So, because once I go to that 4, look, if I just play a Mixolydian scale in D now. See what I mean? Now I'm playing a Mixolydian scale in D, and then when I go back to A, go right back to a pentatonic scale when I go back to my tonic. And then when I go to the 5, then I major the 3rd. See what I'm doing there as I basically just took you through my thinking, and I played, when I went to the 5, I sort of got away from the pentatonic and played a Mixolydian thought. Well, I'm playing a major, playing the, again, I'm mixing it. Sometimes I bend to the 3rd, even on the E. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just play a straight, or you go, you can do it either way. I mean, there are no rules here. I have a lot of friends of mine who are in the medical field that used to come see me play in Durham because it was such a medical town, and I realized this brain surgeon, or he makes a mistake, like somebody dies. Like, I can hit wrong notes all night and nobody dies, except me. But, so, you know, the main thing is to realize how much permission. The guitar is beautifully designed to help you with all this, like, you know, you play 2 octaves right there, and I didn't even move away from there.
Yeah.
And then I go, you know, and I went from an A to a D scale to an E scale back to the A scale, and I didn't even, my hand didn't even look like it's doing anything, you know. And so that's great. You don't have to look for it everywhere. And the other great thing is that once you learn it in A, well, let's do it in B flat. Doesn't matter to me. The B flat doesn't always have some open stuff that makes it easier to rock and roll, but it's a great R&B key, and keyboard players love it, and horn players love it. And when you're in a horn guy's band, you're playing in B flat all night long, man. And so it's no problem if you. It's like if you don't look, just go like that, you know. It just next thing you know, you're doing it. You know, wow, I inadvertently hit the guitar, and now I'm in a whole new key. So that works for me.
Can you, well...
He's asking also with the 5 chord getting replaced by a 2-5-1. I'm just going to say real quickly that if you go to a 2-5, that's a classic jazz turnarounds, or these 2-5-1s. It's the 2 has all the same, like here's a D, there's a B minor. What's the difference? Just the bass note. So anything, almost anything you can do in D, you can do in B minor, you know, a D major pentatonic scale, D major. That was D major pentatonic. He's playing a B minor chord, sounded totally right. And so the cool thing about options of the 2-5s, you go, you know, whatever, you know, I just arpeggiated a B, you know. Because a B minor chord is the same as an E9. If you look at the top 3 notes, what chord is that? Well, it depends on the bass note. If I do that, it's a B minor. If I do that, it's an E. If I do that, it's a D6. If I do that, it's a G major 7. I mean, it's like those top 3 notes have all this possibility in them, you know. And so if you look at it and realize that a 2-5 is really just like going to a 4 to a 5-7. So you know that the 2-5 turnaround is just when you know, and I arpeggiated a lot. You know, I went, there's my 2, and here's my E9. Bending 2 strings or 3 at a time is awesome fun. Takes a long time to learn to do that in tune, though. I'm going to tell you that right now.
What gauges of strings are you using?
I'm using 10s.
10s?
Way easier. I just noticed when I do that on my telly, I'm digging in.
Yeah.
But the Gibson's got a little bit of a shorter neck, and so I could just tell, wow, that was so much easier. I almost went over it. I almost choked it, you know. That actually, when I pick up a Gibson to take a solo in the studio, it happens to be all the time. I go, yeah, let's kick into it. I go, I go, whoa! I just went way past it because they're a little slinkier. A lot of people do put a heavier gauge string on it, but I don't know. I just enjoy the fun with the 10s.
Yes.
You know, and also then you can bend. You know, you can, you know. Isn't that cool? Yeah. You know, that kind of thing. It's way easier with a 17 than it is with an 18. It seems like that's just people say you can't tell 1/1000th of an inch. You can on guitar strings. I'll tell you that right now. You know, if you're trying to bend something backwards with an 18, it's a different.
Had a question about what's on your board. What are you playing through on your board?
I'm playing pretty simply tonight. I've got a little bit of compressor on this. I don't usually compress humbuckers, but I love my Mirage RAF because it doesn't pump. You know, most
Right.
actually, I use a Keeley when I'm chicken picking. If I really want that sort of fat catch it sound, I have a Keeley. But 90% of the time, I use the Mirage RAF as a compressor so that I don't spike this board, which I may have already tonight a couple of times anyway. I'm trying not to. I'm trying to be a good boy. But I just go into a tuner. I have one of these little black tuners. It's just been on my board forever. And Diodario gives me stuff, and I have another one, but my kids all seem to end up with it, you know. And then I have this RAF Mirage, and I go out of that. I have a Klon Centaur here, which they're just great. It's just a great pedal. It's like a desert island pedal. If you show up in the back line of your amp, I mean, you know, you show up at a gig and the back line's a little woofy, I'll just run the thing on. Like, nothing much changed, but it's like I turn the power tubes up just like a number or two, just to get a little hair. Like if I'm soloing like this, like, you know, it just gives it. Did I get you that time? You hear that tone is just so, and it's great with back pickups too, because you. So I like that Klon.
And then what's the silver one up there?
And the Klon used to cost $265, but the last time I looked on eBay, they were like $2,000.
Yeah, they're like $2,000 now.
Serious.
Yeah.
This next one was given to me by the JHS guys, if you've heard of them, and they have some really cool pedals. I really like their Morning Glory. It's like the Morning Glory. They call it their John Mayer tone. I call it Wind Cries Mary tone. It's like you go from that clean amp to just a little breakup on it. I don't have that one with me tonight. I have something called a Moonshine. And the Moonshine is just, you guys ready? I'm going to turn down the volume of it. It's just more saturated in case somebody wants that, you know. It does that every time, like it's if you want. It's just a little more saturated overdrive. It gets great harmonics. So that's my overdrive pedal right now. And then I go out of that into a little tap delay, which is just it's a DD5, which I think is the best one of all of them. You know, they tried to improve on it and it didn't get better. That's just what I think. But and I have a little, you know, tap thing. So if I go, it didn't work. There, you know, whatever. You got to tap this one 4 times too, which is a little bit of a drag, but nonetheless, that's what I use.
Wow, we need to land this ship. So many great questions. We could just go.
I hope that was helpful. I hope that.
Yes, very much so. All right. Well, we need to do one more item of business. We had been going for the last couple of weeks. We have been talking about this little Epiphone. It's like a baby Les Paul, Zakk Wylde, Pee-wee Les Paul, and Greg Voros is setting this up. And this started, probably about 2-3 weeks ago that we started offering this. And we are going to, tonight's the night that we actually give it away. So this comes with a little, it's a little
comes
soft
with a
cake,
gig bag.
a little gig bag,
awesome.
A little amp that's about as big as a lunchbox. And but it's just a cute little working guitar. And Greg's going to get it all set up. It's not even tuned up or anything now. But it's a great guitar. And I can already tell you who the winner is. Because it is for this giveaway, we were doing, if you bought anything in the store in the last 2 or 3 weeks, And so we have already chosen a winner. And the winner of this is Frederick Carr from Lorain, Ohio. So Frederick, Greg Boros is going to set this all up for you, and then we will mail this out to you. So I'll get in contact with you tomorrow. So it's just kind of a cute little guitar. Cute. Very cute. Anyway, so that's that. All right, well, let's land this ship, and then we're going to play one more song and be out of here. Great. I'm glad that little Pee Wee Les Paul went. That was fun. Okay. We will not be having a live lesson next week. We're going to take the week off, but we will be back on the week after that, which would be November 24th. Probably just be doing a blues open talk since we haven't had an open talk in a while, and we'll be continuing on with our blues thing, and that'll be a couple days before Thanksgiving. Holidays here. I know Will's got all of his gift buying is already done.
Are you kidding? I'm a December 24th guy. Yeah, I'll take 2 of those.
If you like what we do, go ahead and we put these live lessons onto our Guitar Gathering YouTube page. So if you are interested in that, you can follow us over there, and then you will get or subscribe to us. And then we already have a couple thousand subscribers already. We haven't even really talked about the YouTube page. And you will get all the ones that we're downloading.
They all want me to play the Mini.
Well, you don't want to play it. It's not even tuned up yet. We haven't even got this thing tuned yet. So, anyway, so and then if you like what we're doing on Ustream, many of you may not even realize that you can actually there's a follow button up there at Ustream, and what that does is that puts you on a list, and then as soon as we go up for the next one, you get automatic reminders of what the topic is and when we started broadcasting, things like that. So if you're interested in that, you can follow us on Ustream, and that'll start sending you those emails as well. So lots of fun stuff. We need to probably play one more thing and then get out of here.
All right.
We want to thank our friends, our wonderful friends from SOAR that have been here with us. We're glad that they have made it here with all of my stuff that's falling around. Last time I know we did America the Beautiful last time. I don't know if we want to try that again. But it is Veterans Day tomorrow, so it might be something to try if you want to do that.
I'm game.
You're game? All right, so
What key?
We'll do it in G. I got it written out here in G.
The people's key.
Thank you, Will. Thank you so much for being here with us.
It's always a pleasure to be asked, Steve. I enjoy hanging out with you.
It's a joy to have you. Keep up the great work on your practicing there at home, and have a good Veterans Day tomorrow, and we will see you all in 2 weeks.